What if I told you that every dollar of debt you've ever had was already paid, and the banks counted on you never figuring that out? This is the last video you will ever need when it comes to private banking and debt discharge. And by the time we're done, you'll see the entire system from start to finish. Why debt is an illusion, how banks play the game, and how the remedy has been in front of you this entire time. Now, before we dive into this video, this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. Remember to do your due diligence, no matter what we go over in this video. Number 2, leave a like, subscribe. Make sure to turn on those post notifications because we're going to be diving into a topic that nobody is talking about. Now, I want to emphasize that this may be the final video you need to fully learn and understand about private banking and what debt discharge actually is. Okay, so might be one of my most important, most grossing videos yet. Okay, so I hope you guys are ready because we're going to be diving into pretty much doing a full A to B on the aspect of private debt and then the aspect of how to be able to do these concepts that I talk about on this channel. Okay, so let's dive straight in. First things first, I want you to look at what I'm about to talk about, private debt and debt discharge, as a game. Okay, yes, this is real life, but the thing is we get so overwhelmed by it because, again, we take it so serious. Okay, now obviously it is something you want to take serious, but what I want you to start looking at it as a video game. Okay, most people, they don't realize that they're living in two systems at the same time. So understanding that the part of you that is real life is the living and breathing one, but the part that I want you to start to play is the straw man. You dig what I'm saying? How to be able to maneuver through both efficiently and effectively. Okay, so one is public and then one is private. Obviously anything dealing with your natural self is private. Okay, nobody knows if you bite your nails or whatever the case may be. I mean, for the most case, like, unless you tell somebody, it'll be private. But on the public side, when you acquire credit, when you do anything in regards to your straw man, that right there is public. Okay, so on the public side, you're treated as the debtor. This is why when you send your letters and they reject or act like you aren't, you know, who you say you are, or whatever the case may be, that's because they're treating you like your debtor. They're treating you like your straw man. When you understand that the straw man has no rights, that's when you truly understand the system and why they do the things that they do and why they are capable of doing these things, no matter whether it's moral or no matter whether what they are doing is the right way to do things. Okay, so on the public side, in the eyes of the system, you work a job, you earn wages, and you deposit them into a bank. Now, if you understand what deposit means, deposit means the unpaid balance of money, okay? Or the equivalent, all right? You pay taxes, you pay bills, you take out loans, and you use checks or debit cards. Every transaction feels like you're giving something up. You think you're giving up money, but the reality is you're giving up your time, your money, and your energy. Okay, your energy is probably what the most important currency that you are giving up. It has nothing to truly do with the money itself because the money doesn't really put a dent in anything. What they truly want is the energy value that you bring, your time, your labor, and your attention. This is why people constantly feel like they're chasing dollars that disappear faster than they actually earn them, because you're expending a lot of energy to be able to acquire it. Just think about it. You go to work and your hour is worth, 20 of these, 30 of these, 50 of these. You dig what I'm saying? So when you get to the point when this is not what you are after, that's when you truly experience freedom. That's when you truly experience abundance. But on the private side, what we talk about on this channel is how to actually be the creditor. Okay? Every contract, every loan agreement, and promissory note you sign generates actual value. When you look at UCC 3-104, UCC 3-104 breaks down what a negotiable instrument is. A negotiable instrument is a unconditional promise to pay a fixed amount of money over a definite time, or something that is payable to the bearer at the time it is issued. A negotiable instrument, if it meets the right criteria of a unconditional promise to pay at a definite time, okay, and it's properly endorsed, that falls under UCC 3-104, which is a negotiable instrument. A negotiable instrument is a security instrument, is a financial instrument that the banks use to monetize, okay? So that's the value that you bring. This is why we have this argument about your bills being prepaid, and this is why we have this conversation about you not having to pay debt, simply because it's already prepaid, not because of some mystical says KV trust, they're going in and blah blah blah. Yes, they are in essence, okay, but the truth is that they are able to take our loan agreements and exchange it for the money that they are loaning us. So that's where the prepaid conversation comes from, and this is all in modern money mechanics. Okay, now when you put your signature on paper, that document becomes a negotiable instrument, a form of money that can be deposited, traded, or securitized. If you don't know what securitized means, that means that they can monetize your loans. That means that they get a loan agreement and they can pretty much publicly trade it, okay, and sell it to investors. And because they can sell it, that means that they're not only getting the value from you paying them over time, but they're also getting the value up front. So this brings up a case of, when we thinking of contract law, unjust enrichment. Because if they are getting paid double or more than what they initially said that they would get paid based on the inception of the agreement, that is a lack of disclosure. That is where the conversation starts to get weird, because there is something that wasn't disclosed to me. If you was going to monetize it and then still make money, then still ask me to pay you over time, and you didn't even give me the opportunity to negotiate whether or not I wanted to do that, whether or not I just wanted you to extract the value up front, whether I actually wanted to receive more value for what I signed up for, because I'm under the impression that I'm getting loaned money, but you never loaned me money. Okay, before I go off on a tangent, this is what's actually happened. The bank uses your promise, your note, to create the credit, then turns around and makes you believe that you owe them back for what you created. Does that even sound like a great agreement? It doesn't. Okay, so here's the key. The banks always record both sides of the transaction on their books. Your signature shows up as an asset, but to you, they only show the liability. Okay? This double entry accounting is the game, and you gave them the credit, but they handed you the bill that they are actually supposed to pay. The bill that you get in the mail is actually an interest check. When you look up the definition of coupon, a coupon is a surplus, it's an interest check. Now, I wasn't going to pull this up, but as you can see, the definition of coupons, it says interest and dividend certificates. Okay? Also, those parts of a commercial instrument which are meant to be cut and which are evidence of something connected to a contract mentioned in the instrument. Okay? They're generally attached to certificates alone, where interest is payable at particular periods, and when the interest is paid, they are cut off and delivered to the payer. Okay? Coupons are written contracts for a payment of a definite sum of money on a given day and being drawn and executed in the form and mode for that purpose. Okay? It says that the Black Law Dictionary refers to it as a negotiable financial instrument representing separate and distinct right to a specific interest payment on a bond. Now, the question I want to ask you, because I wasn't going to pull that up, but the question I want to ask you is, why would they send you that if that's not something that can be monetized, or that's not something that is for you? So now that we understand that they record both sides of the transaction and they do a double entry accounting, that's the game that I'm talking about. All right. The public system keeps you performing, always as the debtor, always owing. The private system is where the remedy exists. So you only are able to create remedy privately. The ability to discharge, set off, and operate as the creditor has to be done on the private side, has to be done using a private administrator process that we're going to talk about. Okay. But because nobody teaches you about the private side, you stay stuck in the debtor's role. And that's why most people spend their lives chasing money, not realizing that they are the source of the credit this entire time. The main purpose and the main point of everything that I teach on this channel is literally for the simple fact of helping you understand what your value actually is and how to create opportunities when you understand your value, whether it is to get remedy or whether it is to position your credit so that you can get funding. This is the whole point of this channel. Okay, I don't really care to be a conspiracy theorist or to revolt against the system. I don't really care. I want to create my own system, and this is how you should think. Okay, now, so I want to do a deep dive on your signature creating the credit and where that comes from. Okay, here's the truth that the banks will never admit. Your signature is the money. Okay, not that you can just sign something and just because you sign a piece of paper, like it becomes like your signature is gold. It's literally because your signature, you are the only authorized representative that pretty much can release the funds or allow the bank to be able to create money out of thin air, because there has to be an obligation in place in order for them to be able to give you the money or to be able to pull the money out from the Federal Reserve or exchange it. So when you sign that promissory note or a loan agreement, that piece of paper instantly becomes an asset to the bank. And this is exactly what we're talking about. Under UCC 3-104, a note is a negotiable instrument. So if it's called a promissory note or a note of some sort, just like this is a Federal Reserve note. It's literally written right there. Okay. That means it meets the definition of money in commerce because it's a signed promise to pay. They won't tell you that signed promise to pay is money. So if they ask you to pay in money, then in other words, they're asking you to pay with a negotiable instrument or give you an asset. But what does the bank do with that note? They deposit it and it becomes entry on their books as an asset. This is why in the case Carpenter versus Logan, the court said that the note and the mortgage are inseparable because the note is the thing of value. In this very case, this person wanted to be able to use this negotiable note for its mortgage. And what they ruled in the case, or I won't say that they ruled this, but I'll say that this is what they was able to find out, was that both the note and the mortgage go hand in hand because the note is what brings the value. And the only way the note can actually bring value is if you actually sign it, okay, and give your promise to pay. Once they deposit your note, they literally create credit out of it. And most people don't understand that the definition of deposit means an unpaid balance. So technically they're saying that they owe you something. They then turn around and lend that credit back to you as if it came from their own funds, but the reality is it didn't. It came from you because you are the one that completes the obligation. The loan isn't the bank risking their own money. That's what make debt discharge so confusing if they was actually loaning money, because the question would be, well, they loaned you money, you should pay them back. But what if they didn't? What if they actually created it just because you signed the actual bond that releases the money to them? What if they couldn't even create that bond without you? Okay? So the loan is fronting you your credit through your signature, and the bank dressed it up to look like they gave you something. They never gave you anything in the first place, and this is exactly why we're having this conversation. This flips the script so that you're not the one borrowing, and you are the one who actually generated the value in the first place when you understand this knowledge here. You are the one that created the value. You are the one that created a creditor. There's no way that Bank of America can be a creditor if they can't even create credit. Okay? But you don't realize that you step into the debtor's role by agreeing to repay what you already provided. You have a right to challenge who says that you owe them something. So when you say your signature is money, I genuinely mean it that, okay? I mean it that way. Okay, I'm not saying signature is money just because I'm trying to make it mystical and make it about your handwriting is the money and you can write your handwriting on anything. And no, I'm not trying to say that. Okay. In this modern financial system is built on converting promises into credit through your signature because it needs your authorization. Without your signature, think about it. There is no loan. All right. So to understand how debt is truly settled, okay, let's clear up some of the biggest lies that they tell you. They tell you that debt is settled when you pay with cash or check, but that's not how the system actually works. No matter if you use a dollar or if you use a check or whatever the case may be, that is considered, that's not, the only way that you can pay. Using check or cash payment, that is public, all right? That will be considered a public method. It reduces your account balance and it keeps you performing as a debtor, but it never cancels the underlying obligation and it just shifts the digits around, okay? This is why the United States is in a deep deficit because of this, okay? Nobody's actually paying their loans back, okay? True settlement doesn't come from payment. It comes from discharge and set off. So we kind of have to discharge. We have to set off. When you look up the definition of payment in the Black Law Dictionary, not only does it say that it's the delivering of money, but it also is a discharge of a debt. Discharge means the liability is removed from the books because it has been accounted for elsewhere. Not that you stop paying. It means that you realize that it was accounted for, or the charge is dismissed. Okay? Set off means one account entry to cancel out another, so the obligation disappears through balancing ledgers. Okay? What I'm talking about is not theory. You can look at 31 USC 5118 where it says all obligations of the United States are payable in credit, not in gold or silver. They are resolved by accounting entries, not by you handing over money. So no matter how much money you hand over, it's going to be done using accounting entries and typing. All right. That's why the coupon remittance works a little bit differently than a check, because a check tries to pull funds from your account and a coupon is designed to be returned and set off against the credit that already exists to balance out the books. Okay. When you think about it, you're not really balancing out the books. You're creating more of a surplus when you do pay with your dollar. So every time you think you're paying a bill, what's really happening is internal accounting. Okay? And the system is just conditioning you to stay blind to the fact that they are doing something else to what you think. All right? Here's the bottom line. Debtor tools are like cash, and what they prefer is for you to use cash and checks so that you can keep the illusion of owing them. When you see that number go down, you think, okay, bet I got more to pay. Okay? But a creditor moves and uses things like set off, uses things like discharge, uses things like negotiable instruments to be able to balance out the books and end what I would call as a loop. All right? So when you think of the ways to truly settle and get remedy, okay, there's a couple of instruments that you're going to use. All right. Now, obviously, before I talk about this, you have to understand that even though I give you these instruments, these are not instruments that you use alone. All right. Part of everything that I talk about is just the setup to position you for negotiation. All right. And every time you do this, you will potentially go to court to fight your case. Not that going to court is a bad thing. Some people think going to court is a bad thing. If you can't resolve it outside of court, then it doesn't work. No. If you do private remedy, this actually gives you more of the ability to enforce it in court. Okay? Number one, 1099s. There are multiple 1099 forms, and 1099 forms are recording forms. There are data forms. You can use them in one or two ways. When it comes to the 1099A, 1099C, the creditor or the bank or the financial institution might file it on your behalf. Technically, this is fraud because they are, filing a form that you should be filing on your behalf and pretty much like forging your signature. But we won't even dive into that right now. We're going to just use that evidence against them and say, hey, look, because you filed this 1099, this means that you either abandon the property or this means that you monetize the property or the IRS has wrote it off. Okay, if they file a 1099 or if there's record of a 1099 filed in your name attached to that loan, then more than likely most of that debt has been discharged. Okay, we use that evidence against them because if it has been discharged, that means that the obligation was settled by other means and they shouldn't be coming after you for the debt to cause an unjust enrichment situation. Then we talk about coupon remittance. When we think of that so-called remittance slip, I want you to understand that it is already a negotiable instrument, and when it is returned properly, then you are essentially like balancing out the books. So the coupon method, When you look at 31 CFR 328.5 and 328.6, it breaks down how to be able to properly endorse a coupon. All right. This coupon is an interest check that you are submitting back to the company for them to balance out the books. Okay. There are methods out there when you can send it to the IRS, except for value remittance department. But the coupon is a negotiable instrument. Okay. Promissory note. You can create your own promissory note or private bond. This obviously works much better when you're doing it through a trust, but it is a negotiable instrument that can discharge obligations once it's endorsed. I would first challenge and position the original promissory note as something that has been monetized first before you create your own promissory note. I will use what they have already used against them and shift the burden of proof and have them prove that they monetized that they didn't monetize their promissory note, or prove that they did monetize their promissory note by simply asking them a simple question of, did you securitize this promissory note or the original loan? Okay, that's how you can attempt to start the discharge using promissory note, or you can create your own, which is a unconditional promise to pay. If you promise to pay an X amount of dollars at a definite time or payable over time, then that right there becomes a promissory note if it is written properly. And you can go online and look up promissory note, and you'll see many different examples of how to do it. All right. You can also file UCC filings, well, essentially to claim and assert your status. Asserting your status doesn't always discharge your debt, but it does position you to have better negotiations. Okay. Everything that I just talked about puts you in a better position to be able to negotiate and for them to treat you differently and treat you more like the creditor instead of the debtor. Because once you start doing these things instead of paying it, then now it begs the question. Now they have some questions to answer and some questions to ask you. And now you can really boil it down and have that conversation. So they're not just cutting your things off or repossessing your vehicle and doing things without your knowledge. Because if they do, you'll have evidence of you communicating with them over time. All right. But understand that you can use the 1099, coupon remittance, promissory notes, UCC filings. The reason I'm not diving deep is because I have multiple videos and I will continue to make more videos on those. But those are like the basis. All right. I know there's other formats out there, and I'm not, like big on those different types of formats out there. People say you can create a church and all that, which I believe you can do. Okay. I just haven't done a full deep dive, may do a deep dive on it. Okay. But these are the ways that you can substantiate in court. All right. Now I'm going to talk about the rule of dishonor. Okay. Under the FDCPA and the UCC, if a bank or collector fails to validate debt, they are in dishonor. Okay. So we can start with the 1099s and promissory notes and things in that nature, but the USC and the UCC protects you when you're actually challenging them of these claims. So they must validate the claims. They must provide information that you ask for. They must have full disclosure when you ask for it. Okay? Because once they have dishonored, it really flips the obligation. The one who fails to prove their claim becomes liable. Because think about it. If you say that you owe me $100,000 or you loan me $100,000 and that I owe you because you loaned me $100,000, but I then debunk the fact that you loaned me money, now that contract is in question. Now it's more of a damn, like you never loaned me money, or you can't even prove that you loaned me money. Okay? Or you couldn't even prove that you didn't make money off of the original obligation. Because that's my disagreement. The fact that you are making money without me knowing, and I'm not getting a cut or a piece of it, that right there is constructive fraud. It's almost like you didn't give me that information because you knew I wouldn't sign up for that. I wouldn't sign up for you to take this, monetize it, and then still come after me for it. Like, that wouldn't even make sense. Would the bank ever do that? No, it just doesn't make sense. And if you understand dishonor and the fact that the FDCPA and the UCC protects you, that's when you use the administrative process, such as notices, affidavits, conditional acceptance, to be able to enforce debt discharge in private banking. It's not going to work if you do not understand how to create a notice, how to create an affidavit, how to be able to send letters to debt collectors so that you can be able to enforce your standing, assert your status, enforce the UCC, demand certain disclosures and documentary evidence. If you don't know how to do that, then it's no point of you doing a 1099, learning how to do a coupon, learning how to be able to use a promissory note or write a promissory note. It's no point of you knowing, should I put stamps and what endorsement should I put? It's no point of you learning how to do that if you're not going to learn how to communicate with them and enforce that negotiable instrument. And the only way you can enforce the negotiable instrument is through written notices that can substantiate and explain what it is that you are doing to them, okay? But also at the same time, you have to know the law. You have to know the UCC. You have to know the USC and where it applies and when it applies. You can't just send letters hoping that it's going to work, just taking them through. You may get templates of the first letter to send, which is the notice of tender. Then after they don't respond, you send a fault and dishonor. Then after the fault and dishonor, you send a default notice. And then after the default notice, you send the estoppel by acquiesce. You know what I mean? And then after that, you send them the intent to litigate. You can't just take them through this process if you don't fully know what it is that you're asking them for, and you are not rebutting their claims back, or you are not even looking for the rebuttals or know what they should be sending you. Because once they send you something, what if they send you the right thing? What is your next step? Or what if they don't send you the right thing and you think it is? If you don't know exactly what it is you're supposed to be getting, it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter if you don't truly know it, okay? You may believe it, but believing it means that there's a doubt in your mind. You have to know it before you do this, okay? And consult a legal professional, okay? But you have to be careful with the legal professionals because they are not on the side of going against the creditors or the consumers or whatever, the judges and all that. They're not for that, okay? So you have to find someone who is actually for that, which is very rare, okay? This is why I teach people to represent themselves, okay? And then lastly, just more of a big picture, just to kind of wrap this up, okay? Because I've already went for a good 30 minutes. Every debt that you see is just one side of the ledger, okay? But here's how the cycle works. Your signature creates the credit. The system books it as both an asset and a liability. You are assigned the role as a debtor, so you keep performing. And remedy only comes when you do set off, discharge, private banking. And it exists, but only if you claim it and you know it and are willing to do the due diligence. So, now that you've seen the whole system, the debtor side, the creditor side, the instruments of remedy, the big picture, this is the last video you'll ever need to fully understand private banking and debt discharge. Now, the question is, will you keep playing the game as a debtor, or will you finally step into your role as a creditor? Will you finally learn to do your due diligence, learn the laws, and be able to challenge the debt collectors? Will you finally start to use your critical thinking skills that you learned at elementary? Are you going to start to expend your energy more wisely? Are you going to get into contracts that you don't feel comfortable with? Are you going to be more strategic about the contracts? Okay? I want you to move smart and strategic. No matter how much you think you know, still move smart and strategic. Don't do anything without thinking 10 steps ahead. You dig what I'm saying? This is something you actually can take your time on. All right? Now, if you're ready to learn how to apply this knowledge, but not just understand it, but actually apply it, comment the word creditor down below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. Down below is my school community. You can get in for free for 7 days, and then it's only $27 a month until we reach 1,000 members. We're at 900 members. Thank you guys for all the love and support. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. This video is sponsored by the Fund Yourself Academy. My step-by-step system designed to help you fix your credit, get funding, and build real financial freedom from scratch. If you're tired of feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just ready to stop living paycheck to paycheck, this is where it changes. Inside the Academy, I break down everything from consumer law secrets that they don't teach in school to how to remove negative items and boost your score, get access to business funding, and start building multiple income streams online. Whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your game and get the bag, this is your playbook. We've got tools, templates, dispute letters, mentorship calls, private community access, and an exact roadmap I use to leave my 9 to 5 and create time freedom. But only for a limited time, you can get access to the Fund Yourself Academy on a free trial basis for the next 7 days. And then after that, you pay less than $1 a day at $27 a month if you like it. No fluff, just facts and just freedom. Go to the fundyourselfacademy.com or hit the link in the description to join now, because nobody's coming to save you, but you can fund yourself.